Have you ever wondered if you should retire in December or January of the next year and what's more beneficial? Well, if you have, stay tuned for this FERS Federal Fact Check. Today we have a question from Steven that's really getting into some detailed questions about federal retirement and when is the best time to retire. So we want to answer those questions, but we also want to give you some good planning points as we go through this. From Steven. Hello Micah, I'm so glad that I happened on your website. I've read a lot of materials and have watched a lot of your podcast. Thank you, Steven, really appreciate that. I'm sure that you've covered this at some point, but I just haven't seen it. And he gives an OPM post, we'll post on there, on page 10 of this PDF, Earnings Credit General Rule of Separation. I am left with the impression that retiring in December is not as good as retiring in January. I know that you and Tammy have discussed this many times and the best time to retire, but do not recall a discussion about the above. If January is better than December in order to extract a larger first supplement between MRA and 62, that this has not been discussed yet. I figure this will at least share this information with you in a way of saying thanks for all the good that you're doing to influencing the federal retirement community. If December is still better, then I'm confused. If when you have time, would appreciate the clarification and confusion that others might be confused as well. Again, thanks for all you do. I hope you're enjoying and looking forward to a great weather and all your experiences this time of year, Steve. Steve, thank you so much for sending this out. And you know what? This is a really good question that we get. And there's a couple of different ways to answer it. So what Steve is talking about, if you haven't read the OPM, all of the regs, it talks about how they calculate your FERS supplement. Now your FERS supplement is, of course, is a bridge in your retirement. So your retirement under a FERS employee was based on three things. You have your federal employee retirement system. This is your pension. You have Social Security, and you have your thrift savings plan in your TSP. These are the three stools, the three legs, which makes up your income. Your FERS is going to be a pension income that comes in. Yes, they call it an annuity. I don't like to call it an annuity because an annuity is something you get from an insurance company and that can be confusing. So I call FERS a pension. Social Security, if you will, is kind of like a pension as well, income that you have coming in. And your TSP is more of an investment account, a bank account, etc. And you got to be careful on how you use that. Well, because your benefits were based on these three tiers, but you could retire at an MRA, minimum retirement age, and let's say that's 57 years young, but your Social Security doesn't start until you're at least 62 years young. You could delay it to as late as potentially 70. So you have a window of time. The government has created a supplement, a bridge that's going to help bridge you getting a portion of your Social Security retirement early when you retire under a full eligible annuity. What's in a full and immediate annuity? You got to have 30 years of federal service and be your MRA, or you have to be at least 60 years young with at least 20 years of federal service. You got to meet one of those two gates, and that's an immediate annuity, an immediate pension, which you'd be eligible for your FERS supplement, which is a good deal. In order to calculate your supplement, it's like they do a Social Security calculation for you. They take the full earnings year of a history. So what that means is the longer that you work, the greater your supplement's going to be. Anyone see a problem with this? Is that the longer you work, the greater your supplement's going to be? Yes, but it's the longer you have to work. And at some point, if you continue to work past age 62, you're no longer eligible for the supplement. Why? Because the supplement turns into a pumpkin at 62 because you're eligible for Social Security. So sometimes we get into this thought of maximizing our retirement. How do we best maximize my retirement? Do I go out at the last day of the month? Of the year. A lot of employees really like that. Why? You get to save up, you got to have your full 2 forward, carry forward and leave, potentially more with all the COVID stuff, right? So you could have your full 240 and leave that you get to carry forward. Plus you get all of the leave that year, you're going to have a large lump sum check. This can work out really well. But if you wait till January, then you might get a slightly better calculation in some of your benefits. And that's true. But I think you're asking yourself the wrong question. When do you want to retire? Now I live in Alaska. In December, and somebody retires at the end of December, what happens in January? It's dark and cold, right? This is Alaska. So is that really the best time to retire? This is your retirement. This shouldn't be solely calculated on getting the maximum dollar amount. Now, why do I say that? Because if you wait to calculate to get the maximum dollar amount, you're never going to retire. Because if it's one more year, if it's 6 more months, if it's an extra 2 weeks, your pension keeps going up and up and up and up. And eventually you never retire. So you got to look at it and say, great, how much do you need to successfully retire? Then where's that going to come from? How much is your pension going to be? How much is your supplement going to be? When's your Social Security going to kick on? How do I take a distribution strategy for my TSP that I can never outlive the money? These are the more important questions. Then you need to plan for a quality of life. When do you want to retire? So this might be a slightly different answer, Steve, than you were thinking, but I like to push back on that a little bit. Instead of setting that's the maximum date to get the most money, what's the date that makes the most sense for you to retire? If you have a question like this that you'd like answered about your federal benefits, then submit them. Put them in the comments below so we can read them. Submit them on our website, planyourfederalretirement.com, and you might be featured in the next FERS Federal Fact Check. Until then, happy planning.